And first, we will start with Frank Belschak, to tell us more about the program.
Well, yeah. Hello, everyone, again. So it's my pleasure to be here and say some words about the program so that you can make a well-informed choice about whether you are interested in the program or not. My name is Frank Belschak. I'm the program director of the Bachelor's in Business Administration, and I'm working as a professor of leadership and change at the Amsterdam Business School. So what is business administration? Would be a nice start, I guess. So in a nutshell, if you want to keep it simple, business administration is about managing organizations. And I'm now saying organizations, I'm not saying like business organization, because business administration is relevant for all kinds of organization, whether it's a small firm like a startup with only 3 people, or whether it's a big multinational like Shell, or whether it's a non-profit organization like Greenpeace, or a governmental organization like a ministry. So all of them are basically professional organization that needs to be run in a professional way and that face the same business problems. So like efficient organization of processes, getting enough people in there and the right ones, trying to address the public in the right way. So your customers, if you will. So all of them would profit from business administration. So you can see that basically the area where you can work is vast, basically everywhere. When I say managing an organization, it basically means all kinds of different business aspects. So for instance, how to get money and how to spend money, how to reach your customers, how to sell your services or products, how to find the right people with the right skills, how to cope with upcoming new regulations or competitors. All of this is part of business administration, and much, much more, of course. So, and to make it a little bit more concrete, you see in the back the picture with the famous 6 letters that probably a lot of you will see when you open up your web browser, Google. So Google, like I said, you know it probably from the Google web browser, your search engine, but also from the Chrome, not Google, but Google Chrome web browser. So they also have a web browser. They also have an operation system, Android, which is very popular on cell phones, but also on computers. And they also own YouTube, for instance. So I think they bought it in 2006 already. So, okay, imagine you were the CEO, chief executive officer, so let's say general director of Google. Then you would have to face several questions like, how do I win the race for customers on the web browser market? Because you have a lot of competitors. For instance, if you buy a Windows PC, you automatically have pre-installed formerly MS Internet Explorer. Nowadays it's MS Edge. You also have Mozilla Firefox. All of them are readily available. So it's harsh competition and all of them are freely available. Should you go for that competition? How can you earn your money? How should you treat your competitors? That will be a strategic question for business administration people. On what are the pros and cons, for instance, of going to the stock market? Is it worthwhile? Why should you do it? Well, it gives you money, but does it come with constraints? What are the disadvantages? What are better way potentially or different ways to get your capital, your money for running your business? And Google, or let's say everybody at the moment is looking for business analysts, let's say programming people, IT people, artificial intelligence people, but for somebody like Google, it's especially important. So how do they get that? How can they attract those people? Because there is more than just offering interesting salaries, competitive salaries. So Google has also its own approach about being very creative, creating a very pleasant and playful and creative working environment. So all of those questions are really relevant for Google. Or another one, for instance, how to create an ethical workplace. So probably you remember UvA having some ethical issues, or nowadays Activision Blizzard, another internet company, a programming company, a games company, computer game company. They have some ethical issues. How can you avoid this? All of these questions are part of business administration. As you can see, it's very diverse, very interesting. So now maybe we can take a look at the program. Next slide. our study program, as all of the bachelor's programs in the Netherlands, is built up in 3 years. And you have different courses throughout that are equally distributed throughout the whole year. And we start out in the first year with some foundation. So like a building, you try to build a solid ground. And it is multidisciplinary, which basically means we have business problems and we try to solve them. And we solve them with whatever discipline is relevant for that. And what we, to make some kind of categories about this multidisciplinary approach, we have said, okay, to keep it simple, there are 4 different pillars on which our building of business administration is built. And this is the organization, the economy or economics, people. So then you would have something like social sciences and psychology, and methods. And with methods, I'm talking about statistics and mathematics and research methods, because it's an empirical science. So those are the 4 basics that you will learn in your first year. So organization, for instance, would be something like a strategy and organization. Economy would be something like economics or principle of economics. People would be something like organizational behavior, and methods would be something like quantitative data analysis or qualitative data analysis, a project. Once you've done that, you have a solid basis. Of course, we will learn and focus only on the relevant issues that you need for answering business administration topics. And once you have those bases, we go to the next year and we try and apply them. And then we have, if you will, the business function. So let's say the departments in a company. So you have something like a finance department, an operations department, a marketing department, an accounting department. And there you try to apply what you've learned. For instance, a marketing question would be, what would be a good price? And this is partially an economic question, like a good price is where the demand meets the supply. But there is also a psychological aspect. This is why we see a lot of products costing $3.99 instead of $4.01 or $4.00. So psychology also comes into play. If you talk about operations, so how to plan efficiency all your business operations, it's mostly mathematical. So there you use the method stuff. So you see all the stuff that you've learned in the first year, you're going to apply it in the second year. And now we've taken a look especially on the first half of the second year. In the second half of the second year, it gets even more complex, because what happens here is not only do we apply the foundations from the first year, but also we apply the whole different business functions here. So the topics that we are using here or talking about here are more integrated. So something like information and data management. So data, you have different data. You have accounting data, of course, performance data, cost data, but you also have marketing data from marketing research, from about your customers. You have operations data, you have HR data, you have financial data. All of those need to be managed. So this is what data management is about. And the same goes for law and ethics. All of those different topics or business functions do have legal and ethical implications. So we need to discuss those in law and ethics. So that's the more integrative overarching topics. And at the end of the second year, finally, you have reached then a stage where you could say, like, I have a broad overview of all kinds of things that happen in business life and that are relevant. So that is great, because that gives us some leeway, or that allows us to give you some leeway and play in on your personal preferences. So that means that basically in the third year, it's up to you how to tailor it. You can tailor it up to your own liking, within certain limits, of course. And the first semester, it's about expanding your horizon. So it's broadening your scope. It's looking a little bit further than just business. So here you have the freedom to either go for an internship, so get some practical experience during your study, so that once you're done, you have theoretical as well as practical knowledge available. Or you could go for a minor. A minor is, if you will, a kind of mini program, a mini bachelor of half a year only. And that can be on any topic you like. So it doesn't have to be related to business administration. So for instance, here at the University of Amsterdam, we are offering in English language, I think something like 65 different minor programs. In Dutch, we offer more than 100 different minor programs. So it ranges from, I don't know, Chinese language and culture, to art history, to artificial intelligence and data science, to mathematics, to history, philosophy, whatever. You name it, we have it. So this is your chance to broaden your scope and do something else for half a year than just business administration. The idea is a general, broad academic education. And last opportunity is study abroad. So here you have the opportunity to go abroad and study, I don't know, in the US or in France or in Spain, wherever. So here comes again the advantage of the University of Amsterdam, which is the second largest university in the Netherlands. That means that we have more than, I don't know, way more than 100 different partner universities all over the world. And you can pick from those and try and go there and spend half a year there, really emerge, live in the culture and experience how it is to be abroad, get in-depth experience. And then we get to the second semester of year 3. There you can further zoom in business administration. So then we turn back to business administration, your core business. I think it's good to finish your study also with what you started with. But here now, because you have already this general knowledge of all different kind of topics, we can allow you to focus on what you like best. So we have specializations, and that means that the full last semester, so the full last 6 months of your study, including your thesis, you're going to spend on this area of specialization and only follow courses and have a thesis in this area of specialization. And the 4 areas of specializations are, and here they are in alphabetical order, accounting and control. So accounting and control is basically about bookkeeping and budgeting. So how to report your financial data and how to keep track of all your data. Then we have entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity, which is, the name gives it away, about setting up your business, but not only setting up your own new business, but also how to be entrepreneurial and innovative in an existing company. So it's not only for people who want to set up their own business, but also for people who work in businesses and want to know how to stimulate creativity and innovation. And it's also about cultural industries or the creative industries. We have a specific course there that also gives you some ideas about cinemas, movies, theaters, but also the gaming industry, for instance, PC gaming industry, which is vast, which is way bigger than the whole seminar industry in the meantime. So they have huge double digits, millions of budgets and several years to develop new games. Next is finance. Very simple. Finance is how to get money in and how to spend it. So finance and investments. And one more aspect is risk management, because unfortunately, quite often, the potentially most profitable things are also the most risky ones. So either you have something like an interest rate of 15% or you lose all of your money. So, and to balance those things and find the optimal mix is also part of the finance specialization. And last not least, we have management in the digital age. And management then is understood as basically what stays, the more managerial aspects, and that would be something like strategy, internationalization, marketing, and HR. Those are the 4 topics. And as you see already in the name, or basically everywhere, we try to incorporate also the fact that this is a digital age. So it's not just about the general things, it's also about how specifically has the field changed now with the digital age? Like in marketing, we talk about social media use and data mining to get customer information, data mining in the internet. When we talk about HR in the digital age, we talk about how to manage people or virtual teams and what are the disadvantages of working with Zoom, for instance, what we can expect as side effects. So all of those specialization will play in on the digital context in which we are living. So that's the program in a nutshell. Now, what then? So to be honest, in the Netherlands, it's pretty common to go for a master's after your bachelor's. So there is only very few people that would straight away go to work. Of course you can, but empirically, I think it's something like 3/4 of the people who continue straight away with their master's. And what could you do even after your master's? When you're done, but also maybe even after your bachelor's? Well, I've split it up a little bit by specialization areas, what you typically would do with such a specialization. As an entrepreneurship, you could go for setting up your own business. You can become innovation manager or a startup consultant. There's, of course, tons more of things, but I wanted to keep it short and sweet, only 3 major options to give you an idea. Accounting, you could either be an accountant or a controller or a financial advisor. And with finance, you could be also a financial advisor or a project manager, because with projects, it's very important that you stay within the budget limits. So somebody always has to keep track of that. And a risk manager. And with general management, you could be a marketeer, strategic analyst, a consultant, or an HR manager. So, and much, much more, because of course you're not fixed with a certain specialization, you're not stuck with those topics, but because you have the first 2 years and a general broad education, you can basically move into any areas of business administration. All right, and now I think we have one more slide about where our alumni work. So people who graduated in business administration at our universities, where did most of them end up eventually as their jobs? And this is what you see. Those are the biggest employers of our graduates. And if you want to look for a pattern in there, well, you can see one, or I try to do some sense making there. What you can see is the 3 biggest Dutch banking houses. So you have Rabobank, ING, and ABN AMRO. Those are the 3 biggest banks in the Netherlands. Then you have the big consultancies, Ernst & Young, Accenture, PricewaterhouseCoopers, so PwC, and KPMG and Deloitte. So those 5, those are the biggest ones worldwide. And then you have big multinationals like Ahold Delhaize. So for those of you who are Dutch, a lot of grocery stores like, for instance, Albert Heijn, but also drugstores like Ethos, but also wineries. So they would be part of Ahold Delhaize, so consumption goods. Then you have Unilever, also consumption goods, Philips. So big multinationals in the Netherlands. And what you also see, and what might surprise you, are also governmental organizations like the City of Amsterdam or the Tax Office, but also the University of Applied Sciences. They also have a huge demand in teachers there, and they like to hire our graduates. So this is where a lot of our graduates end up. Of course, it's not an exclusive list, but it gives you some idea where you might go to. Okay, now we get to something which I would call frequently asked questions, because those are questions that we always get back, because they are not maybe as straightforward as one may think the answer to those questions. So if we switch to the first one, business administration and international business administration. I mean, those terms are not protected, and you can see that some universities offer international business administration, others call it international business, others call it business administration. What's now the difference between all of them? Well, it's not that it's written somewhere. So the question is, of course, with the international, the difference is how much international aspects are in the program. Well, we call ourselves only business administration, but the reason is simply that we don't see how business administration is possible to do nationally and not internationally, especially in the Netherlands. It's a small country. There is always an international aspect. Either you hire people from abroad, or you sell abroad, or you have suppliers from abroad. So it's always international in some sense. You can't do business administration without being international. So we felt that it's so obvious that we didn't even find it necessary to put it into the name, because that would imply that it's only about the international aspects. No, it's about running your business, and nationally as well as internationally. And if you take a look at our program, it's fully English language program with international lecturers, and you've seen our international student body is highly international. We have international courses and materials, and we also have an exchange program. So basically, we also have all the same stuff as other programs, international business administration. In this sense, I would say you can totally compare it to other programs which call themselves international business or international business administration. So now for the next difference. Well, the University of Amsterdam and other Dutch universities. Where's the difference? People ask that sometimes, why should I study here rather than at the Free University or rather than at Rotterdam School of Management? Just to name some, or Tilburg University, whatever. Well, to be honest, all Dutch universities are pretty similar. So business administration curricula are relatively standardized. I would say that about 80% of the content is identical, no matter where you study it in the Netherlands. So there are not huge differences. But of course, there are differences. If I say 80%, that means there's 20% of a difference. So where is that difference? I would argue that a big difference is for us in the freedom that you have in the third year. so that you can tailor basically your whole third year according to your wishes and needs. So that gives you a lot of freedom to choose and build it up as you would like to have it, so in line with your preferences. And content-wise, you would see that next to the general courses that everybody's offering, while you also see somewhat the idiosyncrasies of the business area where they are situated. For instance, if you're going to Rotterdam, you would see that there is the harbor there, one of the biggest harbors in the world. So you would see a lot of logistics offered there and supply chain management. For us, it's less relevant. What we see here is we have a lot of digital business going there, a lot of startups. So in this sense, what we are offering a lot of electives about, and you can see it that in a lot of our courses, it's coming back, even though the course may be not called that way. It's a constant theme throughout our whole curricula, and that is business ethics. So the first course that you start, we already talk about the moral limits of markets. We already talk about the importance of sustainability, and we keep that up basically through all years. The same goes for digital business. It's part of our first course, but all specializations also zoom in on the digital era and the digital age, and entrepreneurship. So we're very strong in entrepreneurship. We offer, for instance, also a minor program in which you can set up your own business with support from our staff. So I would say that here in these three areas, we are probably stronger than other Dutch universities. And now for the last one, because time flies. Business administration versus business economics. So maybe the discipline of business economics is not something that a lot of international students are used to. It may be something which is more specific for the Dutch context. Business economics also picks up business topics, but only a limited choice of business topics. So business economics is basically, I would say, 75% of your study is economics and 25% is business administration, or a selection of business administration. Whereas business administration is 100% business administration and the full range of topics. So that is a substantial difference. So if you think about studying business economics, be aware it's 75% economics. So this is what you get for a large part. If you like it, it may be perfect for you. So basically economics with a little bit of business. But if you're fully interested in business administration, then you might prefer to go for business administration. So what is then the small part of business administration that's also part of business economics? That's the overlap. And that is accounting, especially accounting and finance. So those two topics are part of business administration and of business economics. So if you think back about the specializations that I've mentioned, I also mentioned accounting and finance as two of the four specializations. And if you study business economics, you also have those specializations in your last half year. So basically there in the classes in finance and accounting, people from business administration and from business economics sit together jointly in the class, have the same classes, same exams, same everything. So if you want to go for accounting or finance, basically you can do that from both, either business administration or business economics. If you're interested in any other topic, it's only via business administration. So in this sense, it's business administration is multidisciplinary, managerial, and way broader, whereas business economics is more monodisciplinary. So it's mostly economics and mathematics, and it's more analytical and more focused. But both are fine, both are good. And for accounting and finance, you can use both studies as a way how to get into that area. It doesn't really matter. And that is what I wanted to say. And I guess now we're getting to the stage where you can ask questions about the content of business administration or the program.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Frank, for this clear overview of the program and telling us so enthusiastic about it. I have a question from Charlie. And the question is, how intense is the mathematics in this course? Can you say something about that?
As much as needed, as few as possible. So as little as possible. So the thing is, you see, and that is then also maybe a distinction, that some universities offer mathematics courses on their own, sometimes even 2 mathematics courses. And we feel that is not needed. Of course, it's not possible to do business administration without mathematics. For instance, finance or operations management, you can't do it without mathematics. More than half of it, I would say maybe 80% of the topics there are mathematical, or the way to solve those problems is by using mathematics. But that being said, most of the mathematics that you're using, almost all of it, is something that you already had at high school. So it's not needed to have separate courses for them. We can basically do that when we talk about the context. So when we talk about finance, you will rehearse all of the mathematical things that you know from high school that you would need to answer the financial questions. The only more mathematical topics that we still have separate courses on is statistics. And that is because it's an empirical science. That means basically we come up with theories, but we want to test them somewhere out there in the wild, whether it really works as intended. And we don't want to be just armchair theorists. And to do that, you need to know empirical research. And for that one, you absolutely need statistics. And statistics is something that you usually don't have at school. So this is why we have explicit statistics courses there. But that goes basically for all of the business administration programs worldwide. So it's there, but it's not that important.
Yes, well, I think that's a very clear answer. And then I had another question received from Heiko. How big are the classes? So in your first year, what can you expect with regards to group sizes?
Well, probably if you are, well, maybe you know already that we have a numerus fixus, so a fixed maximum number of students who will get a place, and we will take we have a selection test, and the best people in the test will get the places, and this number is 650. So the maximum number of students that you will have in the first year is 650. If we're talking about, and usually the setup in the classes is that we have big lectures. We are jointly together with your fellow students, but this is accompanied with smaller classes, seminars or tutorials where we discuss it and we apply it, and you make exercises together with your group exercises together with your fellow students, and there the maximum class size is 30 in the first year and 40 in the second and fourth year. So whole colleges, so the big lectures, they are basically unlimited. Everybody's together, which means up to 600, 650 in the first year, probably something like 400, 500 in the second year, and maybe 300 in the last year. And for all of the tutorials, it would be 30 or 40 in the higher years.
Yes, well, perfect. Thank you very much also for answering these questions. Maybe we'll come back to you later, Frank, if there are additional questions.
My pleasure.
So this was the part about the program. If you have questions still about it, put it in the chat, in the Q&A. You can also look at the answered questions. Maybe you find your answer there. And if not, please ask your questions. For now, we're going to continue about the admission for the program, and I'm going to give the floor to Rosemarie.
Thank you, Marianne. Yes, now we are at the admission and selection part. And as Frank already told you guys, is that this program has a numerus fixus. And this means that we have a maximum of 750 students that can enroll in the program. And for that, you have to take a selection test. As you can say, you can have two different parts. You have the admission to the program and the selection for the program. And if you look at the admissions part, the entry requirements, we expect you to have a certain level before you can start the program. And this is the first step. So you can check these entry requirements on our program page. So first you need a diploma that's equivalent to the Dutch VWO. You need the mathematics proficiency and you need the English proficiency. And for all the details, you can go to the program page and click on the tab Application and Admission. And there you can see the exact requirements you have to pass, and also a diploma calculator to see whether your diploma meets the entry requirements. If you have questions about these three requirements, you can join the admissions webinar tomorrow at 4 p.m. and that's for all bachelors. So step 2 is to register in Studielink and to enroll for the program. And this is a system for registration for the Dutch University. And the deadline is early. It's the 15th of January. And for now, it's no longer possible to apply for next academic year. So for 22-23, it's not possible anymore. But from October this year, you can apply for the academic year 23-24. And after you have registered in Studielink, you will receive an email from the university with your student number, in which we call a UvA ID, and a link to your enrollment checklist, where you can see all the steps you have to follow to successfully apply for the program. And step 3 is choose a selection test date. So you can go to that enrollment checklist, and one step in that checklist is to choose a selection test date. And the deadline for choosing a selection test date is also the 15th of January. So that's quite early. And you can choose for 2 different dates. You can take the test in February or March. And the test will be held online. So now a little bit more about the selection test. What I can say now is that, it's an online test and it's 2.5 hours long. The test is multiple choice and it's about 3 subjects, namely mathematics, economics, and strategy and organization. So we have a total of 60 multiple choice questions, and for each subject we have 20 questions. And you are going to prepare for the test by an online preparation module. And here you can read articles, watch videos, make practice questions. And you will get access to this module 1 week prior to your selection test. And all the specific details about the test you will receive in February by email. So then, if you have participated in the selection test, you will get a ranking number. And that ranking number decides if you get a place in the program. So your ranking number is for 100% based on your selection test score. And you will receive your ranking number on the 15th of April. So the best student will get ranking number 1, the next 2, and so on. And if you have number 1 till 750, you will get a place in the program straight away. But if you have a ranking number that is 751 or higher, you will be placed on the waiting list. So then, what will you do with the number you receive? If they offer you a place in the program, Studielink will send you an email and ask you to accept your offer. And you have 14 days, 2 weeks to do so. And if you don't want to accept your place or forget to accept your place, that place will be offered to the next student on the waiting list. So the waiting list shortens quite quickly because there are a lot of students who are enrolled for different programs on another university. So they decide to study somewhere else. So that's why this waiting list shortens quite quickly. So this means that in that case, if other people don't want to study, people on the waiting list will get an offer to study as well. And these offers are sent until 1 August. So this was quite a lot of information, I think. If you want, you can read the whole application process and selection procedure on our website. The most important thing is to remember the dates that you see on the screen right now. So on the 15th of January, it's a deadline to apply and to choose a selection test date in your enrollment checklist. And then in February or March, you will take the test. And on the 15th of April, you will receive your ranking number. So that's it. I'm curious if are there any questions?
Yes, thank you so much for this clear explanation. We do have some questions. Let me see. So Maxime is curious how many people signed up for business administration and participated in the selection test this year?
This year it was around 1,800, but we are now at the ranking, so it's not like done yet. So we don't know exactly how many places are given right now. So we know that from the 15th of April, but looking at last year, we had 1,700 people that participated in the selection test. And the highest ranking number with a place offer was 1181. And on the 1st of August, there were still 300 people left on the waiting list. But they had like a score of around 4 or lower. So that's quite low. Yeah. And like 2 years ago, we gave everybody a place in the program. So yeah. If you look at the chances, like if you meet the entry requirements and study well for the selection test, you have a good, a high chance of getting in.
Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining this so clearly. If there are other questions later on that we want to ask you, we'll do that. For now, thank you so much for this information. We're going to continue. We're going to continue to our students, because I can imagine that you all are very curious what their experience is. And we'll start with Kailin. So Kailin, can you tell me more about your experience?
Well, hi guys, my name is Kailin, nice to meet you. I'm 20 years old and currently I'm in my third year of business administration. And originally I'm from Rotterdam, another city in the Netherlands. And I'll tell you a little bit about my experience and how I made a choice what to study and where to study. Well, I graduated high school and took a gap year afterwards because I was unsure what to study and there were so many options and so many directions to go. And in that year, I oriented myself by going to as many universities and as many open days as I could. Business administration really spoke to me because I was always drawn to the business world. I really liked that business administration was a combination of economics and management courses. Also, I really like that business administration gives you like a broad overview of the business world and you have many opportunities to pursue, since it gives you a very good base to start with in your career. The reason why I want to study at the UvA, because I said I'm originally from Rotterdam and therefore wanted to get to know the new city in the Netherlands. And Amsterdam is quite different than Rotterdam, so therefore I want to experience it as well. So I moved out of my parents' house and moved to Amsterdam in my first year. And I really like the atmosphere of Hoeders Eiland and it felt very comfortable to me. I also really like that it's very close in the city center, so it's near the zoo. So afterwards you can also get a drink or get some food with some friends after a lecture or class. So I really like it as well. It makes it all more exciting and dynamic. So in conclusion, all those factors combined led me to make the decision to study business administration at the UvA. And now I've been studying for 2.5 years and I really still enjoy the atmosphere and the dynamic variation of the courses. But now I give the word to Nika to share her experience.
Yes, thank you so much, Kailin. Hi guys, I'm Nika. I'm 20 years old and I'm an international student at the University of Amsterdam. It's now my third year of business administration and what a journey it was. Since grade 8, I was looking at my options of universities and I started my search in USA. But even though many people think it's a great place to study, I don't argue with that, but in my personal opinion, was a bit overpriced. And then I shifted my focus to UK, again, reputable education, but crazy prices. And then I found the Netherlands, which was a reasonably priced version of UK for me with its amazing cloudy weather. And yeah, I'm a bit of a weirdo about that, but I really do love the clouds and rain here. Anyway, I came to Amsterdam as I liked the choice of English programs, and I saw myself very clearly fitting in here, as it is a very international, inclusive, casual and modern university and city, of course. I started with an on-campus foundation year, after which I had to make the choice of my bachelor's. And I remember myself very vividly how I was sitting in your places at a presentation comparing BA and EBE. And I made my choice. I decided that I didn't want to be fixed in a world of maths and economics. And I really wanted to know everything that there is about business. BA gave me an opportunity to see business from all perspectives and get a grasp of all processes. And now I also think that you don't need to be math genius. It's all about the application of knowledge rather than sitting there for hours just doing maths. Yeah, and now being in year 3, I feel as confident analyzing data from a quantitative study as doing a marketing project. And that brings me to the highlight of the whole study progress, basically. It was year 2, a project that we did with my group where we had to come up with a plan for our own business, which was a pre-assembled art supplies boxes and complementary educational materials company. And then we presented it to real investors and could start the business right there and then. I thought it was just an amazing process, all in all. And now in year 3, I got to control my own path and I chose to do a minor in communication science, as well as an internship in the first semester. And now being in semester 2 of year 3, I'm working on my thesis and following the specialization of management in the digital age. So yeah, with BA, you can explore your opportunities, choose who you want to be, what to do with your life. And I feel like BA really, really helped me out with that. Thank you for your attention. And this brings us back to Marianne.
Yes, well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. We had a few questions already, so maybe first one for Nika. I think it's a question that I saw coming by a few times about housing. Can you share something about your experience in finding a place to live here in Amsterdam?
Definitely. I think what is great for international students is that university provides some support for the housing of the first year. So I got support from the university and got my first accommodation for a year on a campus. I don't mean the campus that's the university campus. It was just a student housing one. But after that, year 2 and afterwards, I mean, you have to be blunt with it. It's very hard in Amsterdam to find accommodation, and you need to think about it in advance, really. It's not a thing that's solved in a week. So yeah, it's hard, but definitely doable.
Yeah, so it's hard and doable, but it's good to take that into account in your decision and take it into account with the whole process, because it's not necessarily easy. And Kailin, I saw another question and I would like you to answer it. How much time does a student usually spend on campus during the week? Can you say something about that?
Well, usually you have around 12 hours of contact hours, that's how it's called. So usually you have done lectures or seminars and usually you're on campus. So, but you can always come to campus to study or hang out with friends. So it really depends what you prefer, but for classes and for the university itself, around 12 hours.
Yeah, that's a very clear and clear answer. Let's see if we have some other questions in the chat. So this is a little bit similar. How is the workload? Is it more practical or theoretical? Are the exams difficult? So more about the workload and the level of the exams. Maybe Nika, can you tell something about that?
I'll tell my thoughts, and of course, Kailin, please add on to that, because everyone's experience is different, I feel like. For some people, this is extremely difficult and undoable, but in my opinion, the workload is manageable as long as you actually do it in time and not postpone it, because it will snowball on you, because the exams are every 1 to 2 months. So you have to be constantly preparing for your subjects. But other than that, most exams are multiple choice questions, and personally for me it's a bit makes it a bit easier, but on the other hand, in subjects that open questions would work best, open-ended questions are being put in, and I feel like that's good moderation.
And I think for me, especially in your first year, you get more guidance on how to study and how to plan, because it's different from high school. Since, like Nika said, usually after 4 weeks you have a midterm, which is a smaller test of your subject. And after 8 weeks or not another 4 weeks, you have your end term, which is like the big test that really determines whether you pass the course or not. But usually your study load is around 40 hours per week. However, you can divide and plan it yourself, since you're not always on campus. Like I said before, you're only around 12 hours on campus, so the other 28 hours you kind of have to study yourself. But yeah, I think it's doable. Like I said, you have to keep up, because otherwise you fall behind, and then suddenly these 40 hours per week become 80 hours per week if you don't study for a week. So yeah. And regarding the exams, usually there are multiple choice, but it really depends per subject. But that is usually the structure of BA courses.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for this very clear answer. And thank you for giving your experiences. Maybe later on, I'll get you back to answer some more questions. So thank you very much. And we're going to continue with the presentation. What is next? What can you do to make the perfect decision for you, to see what bachelor suits you and whether this bachelor suits you? Well, first of all, check our website. You can find some of the information that we explained today already, and we can find some more information about the program, about student experiences. So check that out. This week, the 11th of March, if you're in the Netherlands, there are campus tours. So you can register for that and you will get a tour around campus, so you have an idea of where you're possibly going to study. So please enroll for that, and you can find the enrollment on the website. If you want to have an idea of what the classes are like, what the tutorials are like, the 6th of April, we have an online experience day. You will get a lecture from Frank Belschak, who we saw earlier this session, and you will get a tutorial class to really give you the experience of a student. Well, if you're convinced and you want to apply for the program, the first option to apply is the 15th of January 2023, and that will be not for next year, but the academic year after, so September 2023, the start of the program. So these are the next steps that you can take. Let's go to the next slide. Yes. Well, this was the presentation. Thank you all so much for being here. If you have questions, you can still put them in the chat. If you want, check the answered question. As I said before, this session has been recorded, so you can find the recordings on the website if you want to watch it back. I want to thank all the panel members for being here today. Frank Belschak, thank you so much. Maybe you can maybe you also have some last words for everyone here.
Well, thank you all for being here, and I hope that you liked what you heard, and I look forward to seeing you next year in September.
Yes, perfect. So, clear message, we look forward to seeing you in September. We're gonna close off this session. For all of you, have a nice day. If you have questions, you can still ask them, and check out all the information on the website to make a good decision for yourself. Have a good day. Thank you all. Bye.